I'm originally from Serbia, so I know what hate speech means and how media could create an environment that someone literally hates you for your nationality. I'm in Ireland 16 years and I'm working for community radio. And I was doing one of the research for my master on media literacy, so I will talk about that. And I will first tell you about who doesn't know what is CRAIL. CRAIL is Community Radio Forum of Ireland, and it's a body that is communicate with 20 licensed stations. There is around 200 volunteers who are involved in this 20 station, and there is a few more who have this just license before the full license. There is no specific guidance regards to hate speech or any kind of rules that will help us out how to react. But we have our charter, and in our charter there is a free flow of information and to investigate without discrimination. So we kind of follow those basic rules that is under these journalist rules that was mentioned before. So I won't waste your time too much to talk about that. We use common sense, I think. Community radio is following the ethos of community radio. So the same as in Near FM, those programs, each of these community radio stations has programs on different languages for migrants, I'm coming from the town at Lone. We have a asylum seeker site with more than 300 people. So we all have those programs that give them voice, and we don't judge them, we don't have bad words about them, about black people, let's say, about migrants, about people with disability. We learn our people who are volunteers, not to say a blind person, but the person visually impaired, and that kind of things. You know, we are trying to teach our presenters and our volunteers how to approach different kind of subject. We are not such I think, great players as Irish Times or RTE, but reading this here, I think even if you have by a millimeter, we are doing that all the time. We are generally have this program against hate speech. But there is many gray areas in our everyday work. And because I'm talking about community radio, I will really address only what we found as gray areas. For us, media literacy is very important to recognize hate speech in one way. And media literacy is we have to kind of learn how to read media, because media could affect how we look at certain things, with taking things out of context and you know, putting us in a certain frame of mind. So we have to be very careful about that. For example, look at this, and I had to put this because I am from Serbia. It's so easy. Power of images are very, very they're affecting our brain and stays with us and make this discourse that this kind of stereotype stays in our heads. So media during like a couple of months ago were putting those two photos together and compared the queue in Belgrade in Serbia with the queue of German soldiers in the Second World War in a prison camps. So I don't think many people actually read what's going on, but they only saw those two photos and actually figured out that almost one people who are always portrayed as a genocidal and very bad portrayed in the media never mentioned any positive things about the nation who was on the right side in the two world wars and lost 30% of its population. And then they put these two photos, and people don't read facts. And you know, like, people don't read that actually these people doesn't want to go to any centers because they will be registered. And they don't want to be registered because they want to go further to Europe. So what can we do except, you know, give them food? I mean, the country of Serbia. So that's how, you know, I just want to show you how media literacy is important. And because that actually gives gives the credibility maybe for hate speech. Because if you put those photos, people will think, oh, geez, they're so bad, you know, like they don't even care about people, like they treat them like animals. And then if we have that kind of notions, it's easy to justify hate speech. And I'm getting all the time. I don't think the German girls get this if they say they're from Germany and someone is talking to them about Hitler. And I have that if I say I'm from Serbia. So I think, you know, like kind of media literacy is very important. Okay, I was just, when I was thinking of this subject today and theme, I don't know about last Thursday, what happened in Canada, and I think it's very much important to our gathering here. The Canada passed this M103 motion against Islamophobia. So this is what we have to kind of, what is hate speech? Is hate speech something that we consider as a hate speech? Is it regulatory by law, like anti-Semitism or something? So they're trying now in Canada to put as a law, something like that, and the people react on it positively and negatively. It's kind of, it passed the parliament, but even if it passed, like people are wondering why it's 91% against it. And then of course social media, which is great kind of platform for hate speech nowadays, because it's how much it's free and it's great. We have a problem how to deal with people who, you know, sharing their opinion and could be very, very, very strong in it. And literally hate speech is on media all the time. You can see that in comments. So this is some of the comments that is after passing that law. It's divided reaction because it's what is, we kind of always have to think, where is the boundaries between freedom of expression or criticism and what is actually hate speech? Like nowadays, everything is almost hate speech, even if that's what the people over there say, like what? We can't actually say a bad thing about Islam as a religion. Will that be against the law? So it is something that I think we should kind of maybe talk about it, and I think whoever talked about before mentioned how ambiguous is that, and we have to kind of think about it. And I will give you one example. In our radio in Ireland, I think last year, there was a referendum for gay marriage. And we had our volunteer who was reacting with his comments, and his strong opinion was against it. He respected family, and he thought that that's the only purpose for human beings. But then the people were very hostile to him and react badly, and then he reacted back badly. And that put us in a really kind of situation, what we will do. It's kind of hate speech by kind of any kind of definition, and we had to kind of put that from internet. So this is kind of challenges that I think community radio will have. We're not so, we don't have so much money or really investigative journalists. We can't support that. So, for example, if you know, in Athlone, there is a whistleblower and in Gardaí station, and there was a foul play, or let's say, and some people, citizens, were kind of fighting for the rights of, who were trying to emphasize the Gardaí kind of role in some of the scandals with drugs. And it's a big, big pill for us to swallow. We couldn't follow that story because we didn't have enough people who can cover that from both sides. And having just one side would be hate speech for us, so we didn't cover that. But at the same time, we as a radio, as I know, when you mention hate speech, you always think about migrants or maybe about, you know, black people or different things. But you know, for locality, we have the hate speech between Roscommon and Westmeath. And if you know that Athlone is the town that is literally divided by a river, so half of the town, which is town of Athlone, is actually County Roscommon. So now Athlone town wants to take that part to be under one jurisdiction, but Roscommon, you know, and they're having a strong opinions like back off, and you know, forget about wall in Mexico, you know, we have to deal with this. And then as a radio, and our radio is literally on the border with Roscommon, And so we're trying to make kind of a balance there, but I don't know, it's hard, but I'm just, it's just another portrait of what kind of hate speech you can do with on everyday basis. So this is kind of little things that community radio is dealing with. And same is just kind of this little kind of animosity between two counties. Hate speech, or the way why we maybe need media literacy. I was just thinking today, reading some article coming here, and I was thinking, and when Donald Trump was elected, many other things were putting in spotlight. But no one really bothered that he was married to a girl who was 24 years younger. So this is how media is kind of going into our minds and make our opinions. But then the French candidate, the guy who is 39, he's Macron, Emmanuel Macron, sorry. But the fact that this guy is 39 years of age and has a wife who is 63, it's very much of concern of media. Okay, so it is a kind of gender, it's very gender equality there. So it is kind of, scandalous, like kind of, it's just for headlines, and then we actually think, oh, well, really? And we never think that Donald Trump has someone who is 24 years younger, but we really do think about how this guy who is 39, who will be French president, has someone who is 24, his senior. Anyway, that was just my thoughts before I got thinking of. So yeah, as I mentioned, there is a lot of gray areas, and in our everyday work in this community radio station. Okay, so I just don't want to bother you too much. This is something, and it's a question for Celine as well. I will play a little clip. We are recording Bus Siren Strike in Athlone. And I think, and that's the problem probably with other community radio stations, that we are afraid of many things. It's always what the BI say, or what, can we do this or not, We're very much in this kind of, under regulation, because we can't afford to be under any investigation or be on the wrong foot. We are, my manager is very, very, like, what will BI say, is that under code, and we are very, how will I say, we're very mild for many things just because of that. But anyway, I will play now, if you don't mind, can I play a minute of one of the recordings that some of the workers of Bus Siren said to us. We decided not to put that on air, but I wasn't so sure. But maybe we can discuss about that. What will you do? Okay? So,
We want Shane Ross to come out. He's the Minister of Transport. The biggest transport company in this country is Bus Ireland, Dublin Bus and Inroad Air. Right? He said he doesn't want to get involved. Why have we got a Minister for Transport and his department if he doesn't want to get involved? Sure, he's absolutely useless. He's absolutely useless. That guy, I seen him on television before he ever became into politics. He wrote a book called Wasters. Did you ever read it? Well, I'll tell you what it's about. It's about the quango culture in this country. You know what quangos are? Jobs for the boys. Right? He went into it. There was so much information coming at him. He had to get a guy with him called Nick Webb to give him a hand. Right? It was all kinds of crazy stuff. I read on the paper last Sunday week, I actually found it on the bus, and I read the Joe Duffy column on it, right? One businessman in this country, right? I don't know what business he was in, he didn't say, right? He has 35 quangos regulating his business. 35 quangos. Now, they want to cut money off us, we're only in the middle class. Why don't they start them up with the politicians? I hear Enda Kinney is going to go with a lump sum of €400,000, and he's going to be on a pension of €2,400 a week for the rest of his life. And they want to take €150 a week of us, or maybe 180. Do you think that's fair? All these other politicians are all gone on 8 and 8,500 a month pensions, and they want to take €150 and €60 a week of us, bus drivers.
So we had around 40 minutes before that, and when they're saying about why they're in strike and what they think about support from other people, about this dispute between private sector and semi-public sector. But then when it comes to this, we weren't so sure how will people react, so we decided to leave that out. I don't know, I don't know what do you think, but it's kind of show how we are kind of that we are really not so sure what we are allowed to play there or not. I have to say, you have a video about, you know, like kind of, I think this project about how to recognize a hate speech and why is something hate speech or not. But this guy is a representative of unions, so it's not that he's just worker, so he has some kind of power in one way, and it's, you know, like kind of, we didn't know, we left something else that he was saying, but maybe we can save this. What do you think, Celine, you know? He's ranting a bit, you know, like kind of, I don't know, I never heard about that book, so I just, you know, like kind of can't put it back to the
There's nothing that particularly strikes me as offending any aspect of any
Okay.
and I think what's important is to get your own. Is it on? Oh, that's it. I think what's important for broadcasters, and I understand maybe perhaps the particular challenge in community radio where you are dealing with volunteers, but perhaps in programmes of that nature that are dealing with issues, and I accept there's lots of local sensitivities as well. I think what's really key is to help volunteers interrogate our codes and test their thinking as to why something like that would be, why there would be any thought that something like that would be likely to breach any aspect of our code. And it is, I think it does come down to familiarity with the code. Certainly nothing obvious, as I said, strikes me that would breach any aspect of a BAI code, but I mean, obviously that's outside of the wider context around balance and all of that within the wider programme, but I think nothing in the statements made certainly strikes me in any obvious way. So I think it is about helping, trying to interrogate that material yourselves, and learn, I think, from that interrogation over time, that actually something is likely to comply, or at least have a sense as to the arguments that you'd be willing to make as to whether something does or doesn't comply with an aspect of the code. I think that comes from experience as well over time.
Thanks, Lynn. I think this fear comes from this story in England when community radio was closed because they have some puppet show, and they were kind of talking some kind of, I don't know, not really appropriate as an MP at the time, and he sued them, and then they're closed down. And I think maybe from there, like kind of, we probably can't afford that. So, and I think we're still very careful.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
You just learn your journalist codes practice.
Actually,
You know?
I'm just conscious about the time that for the panelists. So if you,
Come on, finish.
Yeah, okay.
Well, just take maybe the question. No, sorry, I'm just saying you just learn your code, your journalist codes. It's all there if you want to teach all the volunteers, you know?
Oh, we do, but you know what? It's very gray areas.
If you do it right,
People are, my manager at the start is very much kind of, every gray area is like, if you're in doubt, leave out. You know, because he's mentioning Andy Kenny and Shane Ross and some books, and you know, like,
you just do your homework on that. You just do your background homework and your research on it, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I'm just saying how is the situation in community radio. I think in other community radio is the same, like people are a bit afraid to kind of rock the boat a bit, you know. I think it's the situation in many, especially the smaller radio stations that are in the countries, like not like in Dublin or something else. I think we are under spotlight of everyone, the small town, and everyone reacts. So
You might be surprised to know how much big media is very frightened by defamation law too. There's a lot of attitude of politicians, that's the
sorry, maybe we'll just wait until we have the microphone.
Thank you.
Okay.